We really need a state that's one state that has prosperity everywhere. It's really important to me personally, having grown up in rural Minnesota, but it's also important to Minnesota to be economically successful and successful in education and healthcare. I grew up on a farm that my mom and dad bought, and they worked really hard. I have 4 older brothers and an older sister that grew up on that farm as well.
Farm's located about 3.5 miles west of Mankato on Highway 68, and it's down in the Minnesota River Valley, Blue Earth County, Minnesota.
It was hard work on the farm. Margaret had to feed calves. She had to help clean out pens. She was the youngest, and there were a lot of things that I'm hearing now that that took place, you know, that I didn't know about.
Never tormented her at all. No.
My 4 older brothers, they did all the sorts of things older brothers do to a younger sister, you know. They certainly would torment me at times, but they also taught me how to do stuff. They taught me how to drive a tractor when I was 5 years old.
We had her baling hay when she was, I don't know, 5, 6 years old. She couldn't run the pedals.
She was little.
Couldn't run the pedals, but you know, we'd get her on there and then we'd just tell her, you know, steer.
Growing up on the dairy farm, she wanted to show cattle, and Margaret was a dairy princess from our Blue Earth County.
We have the proof.
We have proof positive of that.
Right here, we got it.
You know, her heart is really in the country, and the thing of it is Margaret knows a tractor from a combine from an auger from a tractor, and you know, if she stepped in it, she knew what it was.
In the 1980s, when they went in to get their spring operating loan, my mom and dad were told that they needed to expand the farm. My mom and dad and I had finished dinner. He pushed his plate away from the table, and he laid his head down on the dining room table, and he started to cry. And I knew something was really, really wrong. Interest rates had skyrocketed, and commodity prices, the milk price, the bottom had dropped out, a lot like today. They did everything they had to do. They cashed in their life insurance, their life savings, they cashed in their retirements, and they were able to go on to save that family farm from foreclosure.
We met actually at the 1988 state convention in Rochester, and she was running a phone bank in Mankato, a volunteer phone bank.
He kept an eye on me, called me every single day, and we decided that we were a pretty good team, and we've been together for over 22 years.
We've been fortunate to have a small cabin on Lake Jefferson for half a dozen years or so. Yeah, the kids love coming down here because it's a chance to get out and go tubing off of the back of the boat and basically just hang out. Our son Patrick is a goalie. You get into it when you're hanging out at the hockey rink. Well, we think that we need to take the label hockey mom back.
Being a mom and having a sophomore and 7th grader, it makes me really passionate about education.
She's an example herself. She did very well in school, and she kept going through college, and she even went to Harvard to get her master's degree.
My mom helps me with my math homework, but I think the state budget might be a little bit more complicated.
The key to success and job growth in Minnesota is having a really strong foundation of education. It's been our key to success in the past, and it's our key to success in the future. Community and technical colleges are critical for our economic pathway. When you look at that, we are the home to Medtronic, we are the home to 3M. They are 2 companies that very much are based in the world of science and math. And so when you want to think about where the next 3M is, where's the next Medtronic, We need to be investing in our young people so that they are achieving more proficiently in math and science. But we also need an economic blueprint and an economic plan that touches every corner of the state. We cannot afford to have an opportunity gap in this state between rural and metropolitan Minnesota. So those who say that you can solve a budget deficit of $5 to $7 billion by cuts alone are sorely mistaken. The effect on the Minnesota economy would be gigantic, with thousands of layoffs of healthcare workers, of teachers, and so we need to find a better balance in how we are solving our budget deficits. It was going to be a tough session, but the way that it ended is exactly why I am running for governor, because no Minnesota governor should walk away from negotiations with the legislature or turn their back on Minnesota. At first, there was a hope that we could all come right together and go into a special session and pass a comprehensive transportation bill, but Governor Pawlenty backed away from that. In fact, he told me that he would never sign a comprehensive transportation bill passed by the legislature. And I told him that I knew what I needed to do then, which meant that I had to build the coalition for an override of his veto. He told me to go ahead and try, and that's exactly what I went on to do.
Well, I think that as we go into a very crowded gubernatorial campaign in 2010, it's going to be very important to have a lot of volunteers, a lot of grassroots support, and Margaret understands that and hopes to put that to work in her campaign in 2010.
Being a community organizer, and a community organizer who was trained by Paul Wellstone, I am just so committed to building a people-powered movement in this race for governor. It's really important to me that Minnesotans from all over the state, all different walks of life, all different backgrounds are involved in my campaign for governor. Because it's not just my campaign for governor, it's our campaign for governor.
It's kind of exciting. I think she'd make a good governor.
Mom is definitely tough enough to face all the problems that she'll be facing as governor.
Margaret would make an excellent governor. She cares about this state probably as much as anybody I've ever seen, and she wants to see people do well.